majority draw. And of course, in that case, the champion retains his title.
The MGM Grand Garden Arena was alive in a way that only Manny Pacquiao can make it. 13,000 voices roared, waving flags, chanting his name, filling the air with that familiar electricity that only happens when a legend steps back into the ring. At 46 years old, after 4 long years away, Pacquiao wasn't just here for a paycheck or a farewell tour. He was here to prove he could still hang with the best. Across from him stood Mario Barrios, a tall, sharp 30-year-old champion in his prime, holding the WBC welterweight belt and the youth advantage that everyone said would be too much for Pacquiao to handle. The build-up to this fight was everything fans dreamed of. Pacquiao had teased retirement back in 2021 after his loss to Yordenis Ugas, then shocked the world by announcing this comeback fight. Barrios, meanwhile, had been riding momentum, defending his title with careful, measured performances that showcased discipline and patience. But all of that meant nothing once the bell rang. From the very first round, you could see it in Pacquiao's eyes. This wasn't nostalgia. His legs moved with purpose, darting in and out, cutting angles that younger fighters struggled to master. His hands, still lightning fast, snapped off clean combinations, drawing cheers with every left straight that landed flush on Barrios' chin. Pacquiao wasn't supposed to look this good after 4 years out of the ring, but there he was, fighting like it was 2010. Barrios, to his credit, didn't fold under the pressure. His jab, long and consistent, tried to keep Pacquiao at bay. He circled, stayed cautious, and waited for his chance to exploit any mistakes. But as the rounds went by, it became clear that Pacquiao wasn't fading. The crowd could feel it too. Each time Manny cornered Barrios and unleashed a flurry, the arena exploded into chants of "Manny! Manny!" Everyone knew this was more than a fight. It was a statement. For Pacquiao, it was about legacy. For Barrios, it was about legitimacy. And for boxing, it was about reminding fans why nights like this still matter.
Pacquiao at this age, after this layoff, almost fighting on even terms here with Barrios. Oh, what a nice right from Barrios, but the answer from Manny Pacquiao. If they are in the center of the ring, and if Jinky said to Manny Pacquiao, you got to win it.
The bell for round 1 echoed through the arena, and immediately you could see the contrast in styles. Pacquiao bounced lightly on his toes, feinting with his shoulders, his head constantly moving. Barrios stood taller, using his reach, firing jabs to keep Manny at a distance. The first few minutes were measured, with Barrios landing a handful of jabs, but Pacquiao's speed was the difference, darting inside to land 2 quick lefts before pivoting out of danger. It was a cautious opener, but the energy from the crowd told you who they thought edged it.
That will start to open up and get caught by shots like that right.
And he went for the second one, and here it is again, getting desperate.
By round 2, Pacquiao settled into his rhythm. He slipped under Barrios' jab, stepping in with short left hooks to the body, mixing them with the straight left that has been his trademark for decades. Barrios stayed composed, sticking to his jab-heavy strategy, but his hesitance to engage cost him momentum. Pacquiao's angles frustrated him, forcing him to reset repeatedly. Rounds 3 and 4 were vintage Pacquiao. His footwork came alive, circling left and right, cutting sharp angles to set up combinations. Each time Barrios tried to throw more than 2 punches, Pacquiao was already gone, countering with clean shots that snapped Barrios' head back. A huge exchange in round 4 brought the crowd to its feet. Manny cornered Barrios and unleashed a flurry, landing at least 5 clean punches before Barrios managed to tie him up. The middle rounds were where Pacquiao truly took control. Rounds 5 to 8 were a masterclass in timing and pressure. Pacquiao's straight left landed again and again, and he began mixing in quick uppercuts that slipped through Barrios' guard. The bodywork slowed Barrios slightly, forcing him onto the back foot. Statistically, this was where Pacquiao built his lead. Most of his 81 power punches were landed in this stretch. His combinations came in 3s and 4s, a pace you wouldn't expect from someone nearing 50.
Blades are still lively, right there. So that's a good combination he threw there. It's going to impress the judges. It just impressed me. There's 2 of them.
Barrios, however, wasn't going to roll over. In round 9, he finally adjusted. Instead of waiting for openings, he increased his output, throwing combinations even if many were blocked. His jab became busier, peppering Pacquiao's guard to keep him at range. Pacquiao still landed the cleaner shots, but Barrios' activity began catching the judges' eyes.
If you wonder though, is there a little fool's gold in there? That was
A combination of punches, a flurry. 1, 2, 1, 2, boom. 4, 1, 2. He's going straight back, Mario Barrios. But he...
Rounds 10 through 12 belonged mostly to Barrios. Pacquiao's pace slowed slightly, still dangerous, still landing sharp counters, but less active. Barrios used his jab to set up short right hands, doubling his punch output compared to the earlier rounds. The crowd could feel Manny's energy dip, but every time Barrios seemed to take control, Pacquiao fired back with a left hand that reminded everyone he wasn't done yet.
It's going to be about hunger. It's going to be about desire. It's going to be about feeding off the crowd. It's going to be about who wants to win tonight.
When the final bell rang, Pacquiao raised his hands, smiling, as chants of "Manny, Manny" filled the arena. Barrios stood quietly in his corner, catching his breath, his face calm but unreadable. Most watching believed Pacquiao had done enough, especially after his dominant middle rounds. Fans prepared for what they thought was an inevitable Pacquiao decision. Instead, the judges stunned everyone. The ring announcer stepped to the center, scorecards in hand. The crowd was already on its feet, chanting Pacquiao's name, ready to erupt in celebration. Manny stood near the ropes, smiling, nodding to fans, convinced he had done enough. Barrios, standing across the ring, kept his gloves lowered, expression stoic, as if he already knew the scorecards might not favor him. Then the scores were read. The fight is declared a majority draw.
Majority draw. And of course, in that case, the champion retains his title.
The moment the official result was announced, the mood inside the MGM Grand shifted instantly. What had been a night of excitement and admiration for Manny Pacquiao's remarkable performance turned into one of confusion and anger. Fans who had spent most of the evening cheering his every move now booed so loudly it drowned out the ring announcer. Chants of "Manny, Manny" filled the arena, but this time it wasn't celebration, it was protest.
It's a majority draw.
Pacquiao had done everything many thought he needed to do to win. He controlled the pace in the middle rounds, landed the cleaner, harder shots, and pushed the younger champion backward repeatedly. Yet the judges saw it differently. A majority draw was declared, meaning Mario Barrios would keep his WBC welterweight title. The announcement left even seasoned analysts shocked. The reaction from both fighters was telling. Pacquiao, ever respectful, accepted the result with grace, nodding to the crowd and congratulating Barrios. But there was a brief moment as he looked toward his corner where his expression shifted, surprise mixed with quiet frustration. He later summed it up simply, saying he believed he had won the fight but acknowledged Barrios as a tough opponent. Barrios, for his part, remained composed, thanking Pacquiao and the fans. He insisted he felt he had done enough to win outright, but stopped short of celebrating the draw as a victory. His calm demeanor did little to calm the storm around him as boos continued while he lifted his belt for photographers. The judging itself became the immediate focus. Ringside commentators and media members exchanged bewildered looks, already preparing to dissect the scorecards. Many argued that Barrios' late surge in rounds 9 through 12, while visually impressive, wasn't enough to erase Pacquiao's dominance through the heart of the fight. Others speculated that the judges might have been swayed by sheer volume rather than the quality of punches landed. What should have been a night remembered for Pacquiao's incredible comeback instead became another example of why boxing's scoring system faces constant scrutiny. For fans, it felt less like a fair decision and more like a familiar story. Another fight where the judges saw something completely different from what millions of people around the world had just witnessed.
It was considered a draw, so what did you really think? How did you see it?
With that draw, what do you think?
I think I should move on to the next one. Let me get Barrios. Barrios ass.
Doing great with the draw? Move on to it. he'll be 47 by the time he steps into the ring?
I mean, that's the thing. Age is not on his side, so he's a legend. He can do whatever he wants. He wants to go get back in there and
10-2. Well, no, wait. I always run with these numbers. 10-2. I have 10-2. Well, you know what? 9-3. I always have it wrong with these numbers.
What'd you think about the fight? Why'd you think Manny won?
Manny on the end of bad decisions before. Timothy Bradley, excuse me. Jeff Horn fight. You know, shout out to Tim. I know how you feel about that. Family. But this is what he's got to deal with. You can't go through a camp, do what you just did right there. We saw all the heart, everything that we've always seen from Manny, and this is the result. Shout out to Mario. He made the fight difficult just from being.
Pacquiao 4 rounds. Barrios, everything else. Yeah, that's how I see it.
The backlash from the boxing community was immediate and fierce. Within minutes of the decision, some of the sport's most respected voices went public with their outrage, leaving no doubt about how they felt. Former world champion and analyst Sean Porter didn't mince words. Known for his measured takes, Porter called the judging incompetent, pointing out how Pacquiao clearly dictated the pace and landed the cleaner, more effective shots. He explained that Barrios simply didn't do enough in the first half of the fight to warrant a draw, saying flatly that a champion should have to take control much earlier to keep his belt against a challenger who looked as sharp as Pacquiao. Veteran boxing journalist Dan Rafael was far harsher. On social media, he tore into the scorecards, describing the result as absolutely awful and a complete disgrace. Rafael, who has covered countless title fights, emphasized that decisions like this erode fans' trust in the sport. His reaction quickly went viral, shared thousands of times by fans equally frustrated. Rising star Shakur Stevenson weighed in with a single word, crazy, but it spoke volumes. Other fighters followed, posting their own unofficial scorecards that overwhelmingly had Pacquiao winning. Many scored the bout 115-113 or 116-112, citing his mid-round dominance and effective aggression. Some went as far as to say Pacquiao looked as good as he had in years, controlling the action so clearly that anything other than a Pacquiao win felt indefensible. The anger wasn't confined to analysts and fighters. Ringside commentators during the broadcast expressed visible frustration, questioning how two judges could overlook Pacquiao's work rate and accuracy in the middle rounds. One commentator noted that Barrios' late rally looked busy, but was far less effective, with many of his punches either blocked or landing on Pacquiao's gloves. What made the outrage louder was Pacquiao's performance considering his age and time away from the sport. To dominate long stretches of a title fight at 46 against a younger champion in his prime was extraordinary. For many legends, that alone made the decision sting even more. It felt like a historic moment robbed of the ending it deserved. As Porter said later in a post-fight discussion, Manny earned that win. Barrios fought hard, but Manny took control of that fight. You don't give a champion the benefit of the doubt when he waits 8 rounds to get going. For fans and fighters alike, the decision wasn't just about who got the belt, it was about what nights like this are supposed to mean. Pacquiao had defied every expectation, but instead of celebrating a career-defining comeback, the conversation turned to judging controversies once again. If boxing legends were furious, fans were outright livid. The moment the decision was announced, the outrage spilled across social media, dominating timelines within minutes. Hashtags like Harks Pacquiao robbed and Mon boxing corruption shot into trending lists worldwide, with thousands of posts dissecting the scorecards, sharing slow-motion clips, and venting frustration over what they saw as yet another example of bad judging in boxing. On Reddit's Your Boxing forum, threads exploded with debate. One of the top comments read, "Barrios was so tentative all night. Manny should have won that fight at 46. Another highly upvoted reply said, "Pacquiao was the one pressing the action. Barrios spent half the fight backing up." The sentiment across hundreds of posts was the same. Most fans scored the fight for Pacquiao, many citing unofficial tallies like 115-113 or even 116-112 in his favor. Clips of Pacquiao's clean mid-round combinations went viral, often accompanied by captions like, "And this is a draw?" and "Boxing did Manny dirty tonight." One video montage of Pacquiao landing crisp left hands and slipping Barrios' counters reached over 1 million views in just a few hours, with comments flooded by phrases like, "This was Manny's fight," and "This is why people stop watching boxing." Inside the MGM Grand, the reaction mirrored the online chaos. Boos echoed long after the fighters left the ring. Fans could be seen waving their arms in protest, some chanting, "Manny, Manny," even as Barrios gave his post-fight interview. The split in the arena was clear. Pacquiao had the crowd's heart, and the judge's decision only deepened the resentment. For many, this wasn't just another controversial fight. It felt personal, as if Pacquiao's incredible comeback had been robbed of its rightful conclusion. Instead of celebrating a legend-defying time, fans were left arguing over what went wrong on 3 scorecards.
Tell everybody, Mario Barrios has a good jab. I said his strength is his poise. He stayed poised and composed the whole time. His jab was really good tonight. I said, and he needs to make the old man. He needs to make the old man use those legs. He did. I think he got but Pacquiao, you know, he was popping in, but he was getting caught a little bit.
The argument over whether Manny Pacquiao truly won the fight isn't just emotional. It comes down to what you value most in boxing. Do you reward clean, effective punching and ring generalship, or do you favor volume and late-round activity? Looking at the numbers, Mario Barrios held the edge in total punches landed, 120 to Pacquiao's 101. His jab, thrown consistently even when not damaging, made up a big part of that advantage, with 45 jabs landed to Pacquiao's 20. But Pacquiao dominated in the more telling category, power punches. He landed 81 compared to Barrios' 75, and many of those were clean, eye-catching shots that snapped Barrios' head back and shifted the momentum during the middle rounds. Most experts agree that the fight was defined by 2 stretches. Rounds 5 through 8 were where Pacquiao took control, walking Barrios down, cutting angles, and landing combinations that had the younger champion retreating. His body shots slowed Barrios just enough to keep him cautious, and his left straight repeatedly split the guard. Ringside analysts described this portion of the fight as vintage Pacquiao, a clear sign that he was dictating the pace. Barrios, however, closed the gap in the final 3 rounds. He increased his activity, throwing punches in bunches, staying on his toes, and circling to avoid getting trapped. While many of his punches landed on Pacquiao's gloves or arms, the visual of him being busier likely swayed the judges. In close rounds, volume can often be mistaken for control, especially when a fighter appears fresher. Former champion Sean Porter said afterward that judges gave too much credit to Barrios' late rally, calling it 8 rounds too late. Veteran analyst Dan Rafael echoed this, arguing that you don't win a title fight simply by throwing more punches if most of them don't land cleanly. Both agreed that Pacquiao's cleaner, harder shots and control of the ring should have secured the victory. Unofficial scorecards from fighters and media members painted a similar picture. Many had it 115 to 113 or 116 to 112 for Pacquiao. Few, if any, scored the fight for Barrios outright, and almost no one outside the official judges had it a draw. So, did Pacquiao win? If you judge by quality of punches, effective aggression, and control of the fight, yes. The majority of boxing experts, former champions, and fans agree he did enough. If you value sheer activity and volume, Barrios did enough to make it close. But a majority draw? That's where almost everyone, fighters, fans, and analysts alike, believe the judges got it wrong.
You know, like you say, yeah, nah. Like as soon as he started like letting his punches go, he was solid.
Is that a little surreal, kind of being in, like, looking at their nose?
You got 2 minutes, gentlemen, 2 minutes. Ask your questions, we're out of here.
A little bit, and just seeing a lot of those, those steps, those angles that he usually or the way he runs in and steps in. Even when he looks all balanced, those punches, they still have a lot of power behind them.
Almost as soon as the fight ended, the conversation shifted to one question: will there be a rematch? With the controversy surrounding the scorecards, the demand from both fans and boxing legends has been immediate and loud. Sean Porter, one of the most respected voices in the sport, was among the first to call for it. He stated bluntly in post-fight coverage that Pacquiao earned the right to run it back, emphasizing that fights this close, especially with so much at stake, deserve a decisive conclusion. Porter's comments echoed the frustration of many fighters who felt the judges denied Pacquiao the chance to cap his comeback with a proper win. Pacquiao himself, though visibly disappointed, didn't rule out stepping back into the ring again. He told reporters after the fight that he believed he had won and would discuss with his team whether to fight again. His calm tone couldn't hide the determination behind his words. He clearly still has the hunger to compete. Mario Barrios, despite being awarded the draw, seemed open to settling the score. He praised Pacquiao as a legend and admitted the fight was closer than he expected, saying he would be willing to fight him again if the fans want it. Given the boos that echoed during his post-fight interview, there's no question the crowd does. At 46, Pacquiao's future is always going to be questioned, but his performance-proved age is still just a number for him. Few fighters at any age could push a younger prime champion the way Pacquiao did, and that alone has promoters already considering the financial and sporting potential of a rematch. Some insiders have even hinted that a second fight could be one of the highest-grossing events of the year. After all, controversy sells, and fans are already rallying for Pacquiao to get what they feel he earned that night. Whether it happens or not will depend on negotiations, but one thing is certain, fans and legends alike want it, and both fighters left the ring with unfinished business. Manny Pacquiao didn't just step into the ring to fight Mario Barrios, he stepped in to challenge time itself. At 46 years old, after 4 years away, he moved, punched, and fought like a man still in his prime. He outworked a younger champion in the middle rounds, landed the sharper, cleaner shots, and reminded the world why his name still echoes in arenas. But instead of celebrating one of the greatest comebacks in modern boxing, fans were left debating judges' scorecards. The boos inside the MGM Grand, the trending hashtags, and the calls from legends weren't just about one fight. By this, if anything, it strengthened. He proved he still belongs on the world stage, and for millions of fans, he proved he won. Now the question is simple: what happens next? Does Pacquiao return for one last shot at redemption? Will Barrios give him the rematch fans are demanding? Or will this night go down as another chapter in boxing's long history of controversial decisions? What do you think? Drop your scorecard in the comments, hit like if you want the rematch, and subscribe. We'll be following every update.